About 10 seconds ago, I bumped into another player, and I mean literally bumped into them as we both tried to go through the same doorway. I wasn't recording at the time, but I tried to say hello. He didn't respond at all, and I took off. I didn't know if he was armed or not. I didn't know if he had friends. And I moved up to a higher point, looking over the town to see if I could spot him again so that I could approach on my terms. In a couple of ways, this is a bit like the beginning of the last episode. My impression was that he wasn't that well geared. He might not have had a gun at all, and I probably had the advantage. But that's just not enough. There are too many variables out of my control. I've been surprised. I'm not prepared. It's at close range, and I definitely don't trust the engine at that range. He could appear that he's 15 metres in front of me behind a corner, and he's actually standing right beside me. And that's only for a split second, but every split second counts. One good thing is that it's in first person, and the rest of this video will be in first person as well. This time when I was playing, the numbers on the first person server were pretty good. Anyway, my point here is that I try to lock down every possible variable before I talk or I shoot or I move, really. And that's not the way I always play. But that's what I do when I'm trying to survive as long as possible. What I'm saying with this series of videos is that this is not how you have to play. But if you want to know how I have characters which survive for months at a time, then this is how I do it. And I'm not doing it by going to the middle of nowhere and avoiding everyone and only playing on empty servers. I choose to do something that has a lot of risk involved, and then I go about managing that risk as well as I can. My attitude is that the death of my character means failure. If I die and then manage to run back to my body and collect all the gear that I had before, that's still failure. If I'm cornered and have nowhere to go like I was at the end of the first episode, then yeah, of course I'm going to shoot. But I'm not going to put myself in that situation intentionally. It's going to happen due to things outside my control. Now you can run through areas that are considered pretty dangerous, like a headless chook, and loot it, and you've gone through this place 7 times and survived every time, not a single person shot at you. And then the 8th time you go through, someone kills you. If you're anything like me, you fucking hate that. Because you know that it wasn't really your method that was working, it was just the fact that you were lucky 7 times. But when you choose to do something and you've weighed up the risks, and you make one decision that puts you in danger, you're not just being careless. You've chosen one variable and you rolled the dice on it. And after that point, you're trying to make the best decisions possible. In my experience, if I do get killed after that point, it doesn't feel that bad. Compared to just gearing up and then running down into a clusterfuck and getting killed within 2 minutes. That's not so rewarding to me, so I tend to avoid it. Anyway, back to this player I bumped into. I never saw him again. And this position I'm sitting in is very exposed. It's not a good place to be, really. So I start running off towards Starry Sober. I have to mention that in between the last video and this one, my character glitched and lost his AK. Drum mag, scope and everything gone because I was eating food and I think I tried to switch weapons too early or something. On the plus side, I found a lot more ammo for the blaze, and it should do me for a long time. Once I got into Starry Sober, the plan was to try and encounter someone entering or leaving the place. That just wasn't happening, and after a while I got the itch. I ran in to loot the tents. First I cleared the hill just above it. People tend to camp there or come over the hill from the northern side. Once I was in the tent, I found a new backpack and a rack, and I left the area without any problems. There are too many things that can go wrong there. People coming over the hill can see you from long distances, and it can be hard to escape. Dying there would have pissed me off for the reasons I mentioned earlier, and I decided not to do this kind of thing again for a while unless I had a group with me. I moved on to that triangular military base in between Vybor and Cabanino. I kept my distance and waited. The base itself is in the middle of a large open area, and that makes it easy to spot people coming and going. The fact that it's a military base obviously means that there's going to be a bit more traffic there than the other local areas. I skim around the edge and wait, and then I hear something. Seeing a working vehicle in the game is pretty damn rare these days, and it's too much of an opportunity to pass up. This is one of those times where I'm just going to roll the dice and see what happens. Hey, stop! Hey, hey, hey! Hello, hello, stop! Hello? so they didn't see or hear me on that first approach. Of course, what they're after is the military base. I watch them as they move the bus in and start looting. I'm not going to run across the field or run down that road to the left and approach them in the military base for two reasons. One, because if they see me in the military base, they might see me as hostile. And two, if they turn on me and try to kill me while I'm sort of halfway across, then I've got nowhere to run. I assume that they're probably going to hit up Starry Sober next. The shortest way there is via Cabanino. Instead of just waiting on the road, I go back to the town itself. It provides a lot more cover and concealment, and if I get into trouble, I can use that to escape. Once I hear them approaching, I jump out and stand behind a sign to use it as a shield in case they try to run me over. Hey guys, can I get a lift?
Where you off to?
Wherever yous are going. What he's up to?
Yeah, he's in. We're just heading to Starry Tents. Hey.
Cool, I thought you might be. That's one of the biggest risks I've taken with this character so far in his lifetime. It was basically a coin flip and they all could have piled out and slaughtered me. But now I'm with a group, and the vast majority of the time in this series I've been sort of covering a lone wolf approach. So let's talk about how to do this in a group and vehicles while we're at it. Obviously vehicles will help you get from A to B a lot quicker. You can carry a number of people and you can carry more items. There are a couple of huge downsides. The fact that you make a lot of noise and a working vehicle is rare and valuable, and that makes it a bullet magnet. So what I recommend for approaching high-risk areas with a group in a vehicle is that you actually park the vehicle a distance away, maybe about 1 kilometre, and not somewhere too obvious, and possibly leave someone behind to camp it and watch it. And anyone who comes up to the car, you can accost them or take them out if necessary. Simply avoid driving it through high-risk areas. Now let's move on to basically an introduction to looting areas with a group. What I consider probably the biggest mistake is, for example, if you're going to Starry and everyone goes in there, if you've got 5 people, they're all in the tents, looting the tents at once. In my opinion, the safest and most effective way to do this is to take the time to set up everyone in different positions, overwatching the area, watching places people can enter and exit, and then choose one person who is going in to loot the tents by themselves. They're only going to need 2 or 3 minutes to loot all those tents and then escape as quickly as possible. So you're giving them cover, you can provide information to that person who's looting, and another huge benefit is that it cuts down on friendly fire. If you know that only one person in your group is moving and everyone else is sitting still, if you see another player moving, you know they're not part of your group. There is actually a point to giving people different roles. If you've got a group of several people and they all have the same role of looting a tent, or everyone in your team is a sniper, I hope you can see how that's not the most effective way to go about doing things. But just to quickly go back to a point I was making earlier on, there's no wrong way to play the game. I'm just telling you how I would do it if I wanted to increase my chances of success as much as possible, especially if I'm playing with that mindset of death equals failure, and I apply that to my whole team. The death of one of my mates equals failure. But you know, since I'm just tagging along with these people who are nice enough not to kill me, I'm just going to try to help out and not get myself killed in the process. Also, I totally understand if you just couldn't be bothered. That's a perfectly fine excuse not to do the things that I suggest. Anyway, so we pull the bus right up to the tents. I try to find a position to give a little bit of overwatch. I run to that red shed nearby. It's a really obvious spot, but it's close so I can get back to them quickly once they're done looting. I also feel that at the time it's safer than the tents and it's safer than being next to the bus. Before long they're done looting, they signal me to come back down and start the engine.
Come on, mate.
Bit of contact or what?
I got him.
So what happened was another player heard the engine start, ran straight over the hill and killed one of us. A couple of the others returned fire and killed him immediately. And that's a very common area for people to enter from. There's this tree line and bushes, some concealment that lead all the way up to the tents, and then you're right on top of it. So that other side of the hill is actually a good place to watch. Now, these guys are actually pretty decent players. They acquired the target and took them out really fast. But the method used to loot the place means that you're going to be seen first, and then it's a trade. Chances are you're going to take a death on your team before you can retaliate. After that, we leave town to pick up our friend who has died and been reborn. And then we actually managed to pick up a new stranger who joins us.
Party bud!
We went to the Mishkino tents and they dropped me off outside as I requested. Hopefully I'm pronouncing Mishkino correctly this time. And they actually looted the place without incident. Finally, where it ends is at the Northwest Airfield. I ask that they drop me off outside. They then proceed to drive the bus right through the middle of the place. I find it hard to keep track of them through the trees because they're moving up and down the airstrip quite quickly. I hear some gunshots and I worry that they've all been wiped out. But I see a few of them running around again a bit later. That's pretty much where I walk off and do my own thing. Thanks lads for not killing me and letting me ride on the party bus, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of your night.